How is everybody doing? I was not live. I had a full-on conversation and I was not live. That's terrible. So we missed the intro. You guys missed my intro and everything, but that's okay. You got to forgive me, though. It was absolutely the heat. It was the heat. It's the heat fault, and I'm not varying from that. It's been so hot. It has been so extremely hot. So as I was saying, if you have to go out and about, please make sure that you are don't just take the water because it's in a cute bottle. Make sure that you are drinking that water. Stay hydrated. That is the key. That is the absolute key. That's the only thing that is really going to spare us. I might as well tell you. Other than that, we will be struggling. We're already struggling because that heat isn't playing. I hope all of you tuned in today. You had yourself a wonderful Mother's Day. If you didn't, tell me why you didn't, because I need to know. I need to absolutely know why you didn't have yourself a good Mother's Day. But anyway, I hope that all of you had a wonderful Mother's Day who was celebrating Mother's Day. This month, as you know, I said on my last show that we are going to be talking about moms and celebrating moms straight through. And so this continues. But this month is also Lupus Awareness Month, hence the purple lipstick, the purple nails. Remember, I told you if you could rock your purple, especially on Fridays for Lupus Awareness. Y'all know that's near and dear to my heart. And then, but it is also Mental Health Awareness Month. So this episode, what we want to do this episode is we want to talk to moms about protecting their mental health and how important that is. You know, if you're a mom, everybody else is more important. Taking care of everybody else is important. Making sure that everybody is covered and, you know, they have everything that they need. We'll drop everything at, what? You need so-and-so. If our child needs something, we are on it full speed ahead. And we always put ourselves on the back burner. And let me say to you that is so very unhealthy. That is not something that you should be doing, right? You're killing yourself. You're trying to do all that you can for your child and at your expense. And that's just not good for you. And so today we want to be able to talk about protecting your mental health as a mom. So we have on one of our resident psychologists. I like to say that, right? She is no stranger. She is no stranger at all to the show. And so please, I'm going to ask my sisterhood to please help me welcome our resident psychologist, Mistress Lakiska Johnson.
Hi, good afternoon. It's awesome to be with you again. I miss being in person with you, but I'm glad to virtual.
Right, I know. Usually you're in person. This time we are virtual, but nonetheless, I know that we are going to have ourselves a wonderful time today. And I really want to thank you to everybody who's tuning in. As I always said, I can just see who's tuning in. If you post, then I can shout you out. But thank you to everybody who's tuning in today. I appreciate you so much. And we want to really get started. How important is it? How important is it for a parent, for a mom to protect? When we say protect your mental health, let's start with that, because I think, in the day and with times now, sometimes we just think that we're throwing these words out there. Oh, mental health, and we don't take it seriously. Well, we have to absolutely take it seriously. So when we are talking about protecting your mental health, what are we really saying? Hi, Leeds. Thank you so much for tuning in.
So when we're talking about protecting our mental health, we really are talking about doing those things that is going to strengthen our mental health, our psychological health, our emotional health, our spiritual health, our social health. So doing those things that can ensure that we are going to be in complete and total health, and that we are able to cope, that we're able to manage things, that we're able to have good relationships. And so it's a matter of putting things in place to ensure that we are protecting our mental health.
And, we were talking off air, and I said it earlier, just now, that you find yourself, you're a mom, and that is such a blessing and such a wonderful responsibility. And you want to do a very good job, right? That's so important. And you put your children's priority first. You're going to sacrifice for them. You're going to do all of these things that you believe a good parent should do, or the things that you didn't have. So now you want to make sure that your children have those things. But in doing that, can that then the desire to do that, to always be there, to always show up, to just give, can that be negative sometimes?
So most definitely. So you said, of course, that motherhood is rewarding, it's fulfilling, it's a great responsibility. And I think for most of us, when we enter into motherhood, we recognize that. And as a result of that, you have this being that's grown in your body or didn't grow in your body, but you have taken on, and you want to do everything possible, everything in your power to ensure that this child has everything that they need to be successful.
Yes.
And so oftentimes it means that we give of ourselves, but sometimes we give so much of ourselves that we forget to give to ourselves in return. So we give everything sometimes that we have to raising children, and realizing that that is not necessarily always going to be beneficial. So one of the things I've said in the past when I've spoken to women, I said is, what we wear as a badge of honor is that I will sacrifice everything for my child. And I'm a mother, wearing my little mom charm always, right? Mother of one. And so I understand, of course, making the sacrifice. But here's it. As mothers, we will walk around and we will proudly say, if I have one slice of bread left, I'm going to give my child one slice of bread, as opposed to recognizing that I need to take care of myself also. So is it not better that I share this slice of bread, but we wear that with a badge of honor, because it almost comes off as, this is what says I am a good mother.
Right.
When I give everything.
Right. That kind of sacrifice. That is what makes you a mom. Mm-hmm. If you're not sacrificing everything, no, I don't need it. You go ahead. Am I really a mother?
Exactly.
But that, you were saying, that really is unhealthy.
Absolutely.
Right. And you find that, I talk with friends, family, we talk about parenting. And one of the things that I talk about is how sometimes you are sacrificing, and your children don't even know that you're sacrificing, because this is what you have always done. Yes. So you're saying, these children, I'm here giving my absolute last. And it's like they don't even care. Mm-hmm. And they don't know that's your last, because this is what you've always done. And I give the example, like if you go to McDonald's, every day they want McDonald's after school, mm-hmm. if you have a McDonald's, right? So every day you go to McDonald's and you get them something to eat. You never get anything for you because you don't have enough to get anything. And you are so deeply hurt that they are not sharing their fries with you. They don't know that you don't have anything. No. All they know is you're not getting anything for you.
They figured you weren't hungry.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so you're thinking to yourself, look how I sacrifice. Mm-hmm. They don't know it's a sacrifice.
Right. Absolutely. So they have to see that as mothers that we are taking care of every aspect of ourselves. And so you are correct. We're making the sacrifices, and then as our children grow, then we begin to feel like, oh, you might have children who are ungrateful because they don't recognize that I've made all these sacrifices. And as you said, well, I didn't know you made the sacrifice. I didn't know that every day that we went to McDonald's, it meant that you had to take $4, $5 from somewhere else. Right. And so we have to have those kind of boundaries in place, and recognizing that you don't have to throw yourself, on the dagger. Granted, we know that we would do whatever needs to be done for our children, but it should not be at the cost of sacrificing ourselves. We know when we talk about the metaphor that we use when we talk about self-care, right? And so it talks about putting on your mask first. And I always say that I remember being a child and hearing it in the airplane, and I would think,
right,
well, if I'm a mother and my child is there, I'm going to just let my child be uncomfortable and cry without putting on the mask. But it's a recognition that before I can help anyone, before I can help my child, before I can take care of my child, I have to take care of myself.
Exactly.
And so when I go back to the example, when I remember doing it and speaking to a group of women, when I said about the toast, I said the slice of bread, I said, when you feel like, hurrah, here's me, and you want to, hold up your hand, I am woman, see me raw because I've given my child the last slice of bread. When you pass out, because you have not nourished your body,
yes,
then who is there to take care of your child?
Who's there to continue to take care of that same child that you gave your last piece of bread to,
exactly.
right?
And continually gave your last piece of bread.
And continue. You haven't eaten in days, and they've eaten every single day.
Absolutely.
As opposed to maybe a smaller meal for them.
Yes. We share the slice of bread, so we all have a little bit of something in our stomach. But I at least have the strength now that I am able to take care of you. So often that is the approach that we kind of take when we think about motherhood. And in some cases, it's maybe because that is what we have always seen.
Right. And I just meant to say that. Is it, I don't know, is it a societal thing? Is it just something within you that just says that this is what you're supposed to do as a mom? You're supposed to be all sacrificing all of the time, every time. What is it that causes us to go the full over the top?
Yes. Well, I definitely think it is an innate thing, because even if we think about women who are not mothers, we know that as women, we are always taking care of everyone else. So we know, and of course we're known as the nurturers. That is the way God created and designed us. We are very much nurturers. And as a result of that, sometimes we forget that, we need some nurturing as well. And so because that's innate in us, and then of course what has happened is that we have a society that continues to kind of support that yes, this is what you are supposed to do.
That's a mark of motherhood.
Oh yes, because how dare you? What do you mean you're having a weekend away? What do you mean you need a couple of, if you hear a mother who was just saying, I'm taking a break. Oh my goodness. It's like blasphemy. What do you mean? Those are your children. What do you mean you're taking a break? And there's nothing wrong with that, women. There's nothing wrong with that, mothers. Sometimes we need a break from them sweet babies we have as well. Yeah. Because it's for you. It's for your mental health.
And it's not, and guess what? It's also for them, because you come back, when you take that break, you come back in a better headspace. And so, but we find it so hard to do that because we just go. I want to just shout out some people. Thank you so much, Shireen and Dorothy and Tony, for tuning in. Thank you so much. And please, if you were watching, continue to share the conversation. We need to talk about these things. I know for me, I struggled, right? We would travel and I would always think about everything that the children need. And my husband would say, get something for yourself. Oh, but how can I get something for myself? And 3 months from now, they're going to need this.
3 months.
Right? That time he doesn't have any problem with purchasing whatever he's purchasing for himself. But I can't purchase it for myself because they may need this 6 months from now. We're talking about right now.
Right.
Right now, though. You need this thing right now. But I couldn't imagine, or if you get one thing for you, you get 10 things for them.
Yeah.
Right. You just,
Very common.
And I know for me, it was a struggle to get to the place where, and I'm not fully there, but to get to the place where I needed to be able to take time for me. I needed to be able, it was okay for me to treat myself and not treat them. And if that meant I had to take the long way home so I could eat the treat in the car and then throw it in the garbage, but I just needed to be able to do that. Some more people tuning in. Thank you so much, Brenny Cooper. Hi, Vanessa. Thank you so much for tuning in. And so, I just had to get to that place. But I'm telling you, it was not easy getting there.
No. And I don't think any mother will say who's gotten there that it was an easy route to go to get there. I do think we have some modern women, of course, as this topic of mental health, that as we've spoken more about it, as we've raised more awareness, as we've reduced stigma, in the last several years, I do think we have some mothers who are, it's a little bit easier for them because they were raised in an era where we have been discussing mental health. And so they realize the importance of having the boundaries. And so I've heard mothers who say, I sit in the car and I eat the Wendy's before I get in the house because I just need some time for myself. And I don't want to share my fries. Just like how they don't want to share with me, I don't want to share my fries with them, right? And they understand that. Or those who go and, I had one mother who said, listen, I go sometimes and before I get home, I go and I just sit on Tino Beach and I just sit in my car for a few minutes before I head home. And so they realize that I need to kind of decompress from work because now I need to go home and now I have to put on motherhood. Now I have to go and I have to perform at home. And so I just need those few minutes for myself. And so it's not, like you said, it's not easy. I'm convinced. I said, listen, the minute you birth a child, you also, the guilt comes with it,
Yes. and I really want us to delve into that. Yeah. Brenny is saying so true. Taking long way to eat the treat, guilty. Yes. Many a Snickers I ate the long way.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Didn't want to share, and I just wanted a minute.
Yeah.
And so I just had to take the long route.
That's right.
And then hide the bag or whatever in the glove.
Yes.
Or stick it in my bag or whatever. But and why? And the thing of it is we have to do that. And I'm just saying, whereas the dad full out bring the Wendy's or whatever.
I think nothing of it.
What?
Like you don't bring it to anyone else? No.
I think you would make something.
Yeah. But
right along.
Exactly. And so what I realize is with women just being able to say no. And so the reason why we sit in the car and not bring it in the house is because invariably your child is coming, Mommy, can I have? And
even before the child asks,
because it's coming, right? And so in most cases, we ain't even, if we're bringing it in the house, we bring it for them anyway, right? Because we just, to be able to say no, I said, listen, no is a short little word, 2 little letters, 1 little syllable, but it is one of the most difficult things for us as women to be able to say. And so we have to set those boundaries, and it's okay. And I say, it's okay. It's okay to say no. We have to tell our children sometimes no, and we have to tell, and not just the no in the cases where we're saying, well, yes, I say, no, you can't go somewhere because that's an issue of safety, but even just saying no when it's, Mommy, can I have one? No, you can't have my last chicken wing.
Right.
No.
Am I a mom if I'm not giving them my last? Even though I gave them 6 and this is the second one that I've had.
Because now you feel like, oh, this child must be hungry. Okay, then.
To
eat 1 bite off of it and throw it in the garbage.
Right.
you
Or
know.
you've given them all they think it's theirs. You bring it for you, but it automatically becomes something to share. Ms.
Yes.
White is saying, I'm a work in progress, even though my last child is over 30.
Still working on it, right?
Still working on it. Still working on it.
We all are working. We all are.
You say, no is the dirty word to a child. Yeah. And you know why? Because we've made it that way. Because we have always accommodated. And don't get me wrong, I'm not, of course, in any way advocating mistreating your child or being mean to your child. But what I am saying is, it is a dirty word because we've made it that way. They're not used to hearing that. They are accustomed to us dropping every single thing and focusing on them. Yes. So I want to ask you a question. You know, sometimes they want your attention. It isn't anything that's an emergency. Say not sharing equally. They tell you were being mean.
You're mean. Yes.
You mean. That's okay. They will be right there loving you in another minute. But what is it okay? Let's say if maybe you had a rough day or whatever, and your child wants your attention. There's nothing that's an emergency, right? They're safe. You know they're okay. But they want to maybe tell you a story. They just want your attention for whatever. You know, sometimes they tell these stories that mean absolutely nothing to you. You don't understand the people, the characters, but you got to listen. Is it okay to say, wait?
Absolutely.
Give me a moment. Is it okay for you to say to your child, you know what? I am not in a good place. I don't know, however you word it. Can you give me a minute?
No, absolutely. Because it's really about setting boundaries, and setting boundaries is important for us as women, as mothers, as it relates to our mental health. And so there are some mothers who are really good at it because they have already set the boundaries in that their children know that when mommy comes home from work, mommy gets 15 minutes alone, 20 minutes. And so you can, for younger children, you can set a timer so that they know that if the house is not burning down, if you don't have blood coming from an orifice of your body, you are not to bother mommy. Mommy is going in the room. She's going to have a few minutes. She is going to change her clothes. She's going to maybe sit down for a moment. But it's a matter of setting the boundaries. So if we don't set the boundaries that says, I am not always going to be available for you. And here's the thing why it's also important. Our children grow up. Our children leave us. They go off to school. They live on their own. And if we have raised them in such a way that we are available to every whim, because of course, your child can be 30. There's a mother on there who said, well, your youngest is 30, and your 30-year-old can call you at 2 a.m. And obviously, if it's a crisis, you are there. But not
sometimes, can I just say, Lakiska, sometimes they call you at 2 a.m. in the morning and there is no crisis.
So that's what I was going to say.
They just want to chit chat.
So that, well, here's the thing. If at 2 a.m. in the morning, your child is calling and just want to chat. Now, it could depend. If we have given into every whim of our child, then it's, oh, I don't think anything of it. I'm going to call mommy. And then sometimes it's a way, it kind of signals that more is going on, but maybe I don't quite know how to say that I am in a difficult place emotionally or psychologically. So I just want to call and hear mom's voice. But we have to learn that. And of course, it's as we are raising our children and they're younger, that letting them understand that, you know, every little thing, and you know, little children will come to you and they'll come and show you, look at the cut. And that time I'm straining my eye trying to see this. I'm like, I don't see nothing there, and how their fingers hurting. And so we do have to set those boundaries that says when mommy comes home from work, mommy just needs a few minutes. When I go into the bathroom to take a bath, because, you know, we can't go, when you have children, you don't go to the bathroom by yourself. I saw someone did a video reel. She had a baby and then like a 2-year-old, and every minute, you know, they're rotating and they're coming into the bathroom. So helping them to even understand that mommy needs just a little bit of time. And so, like I said, you know, for mothers with younger children, you can set a timer. For your older child who knows how to tell the time, then they know that you can say, okay, mommy gets home at 5:30. Nobody bothers mommy until 5:45. So we have to set the boundaries, and that's fine.
Shireen says, I have a rule with my kids. If it's not an emergency, give me 1 hour after getting home from work. Okay. She needs an hour.
There you go. Yeah. And that's good, and that's healthy both for in rearing her children, but it's also for her, because here's the reality as well, as we talk about mothers and their mental health. Women are There are far more women that are out there in the work world than we were 100 years ago. So
Right.
women are out there, we're in executive positions, we're CEOs, they're, judges, surgeons. And so you're doing all this work and taking on so much responsibility outside of the home. And then women come home and still 80% of the caretaking responsibility is left up to mothers. So if you're in the work world that is putting a lot of demands on us, and then you come home and you have the demands there, if
Right.
you don't find a way to balance, if you are not ensuring that I am putting those factors in place that are going to protect my mental health, we're going to struggle. And we have a lot of women who are struggling, right? We would have seen recent suicide attempts or suicide. And it's why,
Right.
because as women, while we are more vocal and while we are more expressive, women are still not seeking out help as we would want them to. And part of it is, of course, the stigma. And part of it is simply because the reality of it is you have mothers who are saying, I don't have the time. When do I have the time
Right.
to work on myself and to deal with my issues? I have 3 children at home. I work a full-time job. I have to make sure my kids' homework is done. They always have a project. We have exams. I don't have the time for myself. Okay. And we do have to ensure that we are doing those things. So something as simple as, and it might seem simple, but taking that 1 hour at the end of the workday really is strengthening the your mental health. And so those are there's so many simple things that we can be doing to ensure that we're protecting our mental health.
And I wanted to ask you, hi, Portia. Thank you so much for tuning in. What are some of the signs that maybe as a mom mentally you're struggling? What are some of the signs that we need to be aware of? Because you're so consumed with doing everything that you're doing, you're not paying attention
Yeah.
enough for what's going on inside you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are some of the signs maybe that you should look out for as a mom, as a woman, when you are that may be pointing to, hey, you need to take a moment for yourself? Hi, Sandy. Thank you so much for tuning in.
So absolutely, sometimes we miss the signs within ourselves because, as you're saying,
Right.
as you said, we're doing so much, we're taking on so much. I say in the work, in home, we're active in churches and civil and social organizations. But we do have to, even if we're not always recognizing them in ourselves as women, we need to have our eyes open so that maybe we could recognize it in the other women's in the lives of the other women in our lives. And so, for example, changes in eating or sleeping habits, right?
Mm-hmm.
So usually that signifies that maybe something is going on. And so we're talking about changes either way. Either you have difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep. Personally, for me, I know that when I'm feeling stressed, then I'm going to have insomnia. So I can almost guarantee that if I have a stressful week, every night I'll probably be up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I may be up for an hour. I may be up for an hour and a half. And it took me a while to realize that
Right.
that was when I was feeling stressed or overwhelmed. So changes in the sleeping habits, maybe now all of a sudden not wanting or sleeping too much, loss of appetite, or just eating a lot, just thinking, you know what? The only way I could be able to deal with this is let me go sit down and eat a pint of ice cream. So changes in those kinds of habits. A loss of interest in things that once brought you joy. So I enjoyed spending time doing whatever it was. And then all of a sudden I'm feeling like I no longer want to do that. I'm snapping. So being irritable and
Right.
moody. A lot of times we miss that. Someone would say to us, your spouse, your children would say to you, well, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you rowing so much? And
Yeah, my
you don't
son and
understand
daughter
what I'm
would
going.
absolutely call me out on it.
Yes.
No, for real.
Yes.
Be
So
like,
my
well,
son will.
why you talking like this? Why you you know?
And it could be a sign, obviously, that something more is going on, because our body always is going to give us a tell, right? Even before it kind of, in some cases, hits our brain and we're able to kind of conceptualize what's going on, our body is going to give us a tell. Thoughts that you can't get out of your head. So, these persistent thoughts, and the thoughts are often negative thoughts. So feeling like, I'm not going to be able to get this done. I can't accomplish this. I can't get anything right. No matter how much I try, I'm struggling with this. Impacts on your relationship. And so you're having difficulties or always in a contentious kind of state with family members. So whether it's your spouse, whether it's your children, whether it is at work, unable to perform your job because I just can't focus anymore. So
Sharon is saying this sounds like my menopause symptoms.
Well, so I like that, because the other day when I did a mental health talk to women, and I said to them, here's the thing. And I just said the body tells. So here's the thing. I said the tell could be that we're going through menopause. It could be a medical tell, but sometimes we also know. But the bottom line is when we see those things,
right? Those
we
are
know
abnormal.
that something is going on. But that's a real thing, because even when we think about women and their mental health, and mothers in their mental health, we are so often in a hormonal state. And the fact that we are women means that we have a lot of fluctuations in our hormones. And so it means that the three most common disorders in women are depression, anxiety, and eating disorders. And of course, when we think about depression and anxiety, those things are related to our mood. And so, either we are having our menstrual cycle, and so the hormones fluctuate during the month. You're premenopause, perimenopausal, and then you're in menopause, and I think somebody said, and then you're postmenopause. And so all of those things are also having an impact on us as women. And so even more reason why we have to be taking our mental health as seriously as we would take our physical health.
Yeah, and I'm going to go a step further and say we have to begin to take our mental health as seriously as we take the health of our children.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely. That's what. Because a lot of time, anything we jump right on it. We don't care. Us, we figure that we could manage.
Oh, yeah.
And again, this is another way that we are putting that oxygen mask on the children before we are putting it on ourselves.
Absolutely. So
like you said, we got to begin to pay attention to these signs. Don't just keep going.
No, we do have to kind of stop, pause, and kind of evaluate. Okay, what is going on?
Check in with yourself.
We have to do that. That's very important, and that's oftentimes why we miss the signs, because we're not checking in with ourselves, and because as women we're so busy doing, a lot of times we're not checking in with our sisters.
And you guys, if you're tuning in, I'm all about building a sisterhood here, and it's important for us to check in with each other. To even create that kind of environment where it's okay for you to have people in your life that you could say, I'm feeling however it is that I'm feeling overwhelmed. And I think sometimes we get embarrassed because, and you could correct me, it just feels like in society, there's this huge pressure to always be on, to have everything together. We look at social media and we see maybe 3-4 minutes of these people's life, but they have their life in those 3-4 minutes all together. They're able to put their children to bed after the children have done their homework. They go to bed, ease, the house spotless. They are a COO of a Fortune 500 company, and they're able to come home on time, cook a 5-6 course meal, and get everything done. And they got about 3 kids and a dog. And here you are with maybe 1, and you
keep it together.
I can't get it together. So then you feel sometimes like everybody else around you has it together, and you're the only one
Yeah.
who is floundering. You're the only one sometimes who feel like you're drowning, and so you don't say anything.
Right. Right. And the reality of it is, sister, woman, mother, you are not the only one. So even the ones who we see, and so social media we know is having an impact on our mental health as well, because you are right. We are looking at a snippet, and in many cases, it's not even a very real snippet, because what it is, it's a very crafted image that we put out there, because nobody puts their worst up. There are very few people who are putting out there their worst. What is put out there is the best. It's in many cases not very real. And so it's 50 pictures later to get the perfect picture. Meanwhile, you snap one picture and you go, oh my God, I'm hideous. But they've had the lighting perfect. They have someone behind them with the reflectors, and
they don't really look like how their pictures look.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And yet, but we look at that, and like you said, then we say, if she can have it all together, and she is doing much more than me, and she has more children than me, then something must be wrong with me that I cannot have it together. Meanwhile, the reality of it is that her life is just as much maybe a mess as yours is just
Right.
as challenging. The house is a mess. Yes, some people's houses look really nice and you think they have children, and other people's your house might be a mess, right? And so we all have our struggles and we all have our challenges, because this journey of motherhood is not one that is easy, and it certainly comes while very rewarding. I just read someone said it is the hardest thing they've ever done, but it is the hardest thing that they've ever done that they love. So I love this very
Right.
hard thing that you do, but recognizing, and you talked about always being on, because we're also in an era of hustle culture. We're always doing, and we have to be doing
Yes.
more. And the expectation is, what you mean that's all you doing?
Right.
How is that all you're doing?
What?
You should
You
be.
only have 5 businesses?
Listen.
I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Oh, exactly. That attitude. Meanwhile, you're going, oh, you're going to crash before then, because you're not taking care of yourself. And so we have to be prioritizing our mental health. Our mental health is an essential part of our overall health. And so gone are the days where we can only be thinking about, okay, well, what are my numbers in terms of my blood pressure and my glucose numbers, and these kind of things. That can't be the only thing that we realize that we're focused on. We know that we have to be focused on, okay, what is going on with me internally, in
Right.
terms of my psyche, in terms of mentally, in terms of emotionally, because we know that has an impact on every part of our life. It's going to impact our physical health. It is going to impact our relationships. It's going to impact, how we're able to raise our children, how we're able to function within society. So we have to be taking care of our mental health, mothers.
Absolutely. How dangerous, and I want to say this, how dangerous is it as a mom? And I know this sounds crazy to say, but how dangerous is it as a mom to make your children your entire world? Like everything centers around your children. Because it sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah.
But you see my kids, they're my world. They're
my
everything.
world. Yeah, I would walk to the ends of the earth for them. And like I said earlier, the problem with that is, and to an extent, yes, you're to extent our lives revolve around our children, but the measure, the mark of a good parent is that you are raising a child who is going to be a productive citizen of the world. And to be that, it means that child leaves home, leaves the cocoon of your home. And so a lot of times what happens is, because everything centers around them, your children leave, because that is what they're
Right.
going to do. And then you don't know who you are outside of doing and being everything for this child. And so people are then trying to find themselves again, finding yourself is something that we do in adolescence. We're trying to figure out who we are. But then
Right.
we have mothers who are trying to find themselves after their children have left the home, because all I knew how to do, or my life had become, was a mother. So I didn't cultivate relationships outside of mom relationships. I didn't do anything for myself. And so now I'm trying to figure out, okay, these children gone, they're out of the home. And then you have some of those who are trying to figure out, so when I could be a grandmother, so that I could go back into that,
Mothering
all
again.
of that energy into that. So it is important, because our children aren't with us forever. And we have to, I always say, before you had a child, you were an independent being. You were
Right.
somebody, and yes, once you become mother, that is a title that you now hold, and it is certainly, the one of the greatest title that I could hold is that of a mother. But I also recognize, while I'm always going to be a mother, I am also Lakiska. I was Lakiska before I was a mother, and once my son has left, and my son is at university now, that I still have to be Lakiska, right? And so I cannot, and I could not allow myself to shrink as I was raising this child. And what I found was that I had, my son had friends who, as they went off to school, mothers were just distraught. And I
Right.
was a single mother, so I had friends who would say, "Well, how did you manage?" And I was like, "What do you mean, how did I manage?" Because they were just falling apart, and I only have one. They have other children, and I was like, "Well, what do you mean, how I managed?" I said, "Girl, I raised my child knowing he was going to leave."
Right.
So my whole world just couldn't revolve, because I knew, and knowing the
At
nature
some
of my
point, he
child,
was going to leave.
he's going to leave. So if all I ever did was that, then I would fall apart when he would have left. And so I was like, well, now you got to figure out who you are and find your way, because these children have to leave. So again, that's one of those things we hold as a badge of honor. My world revolves around, and yes, to an extent.
To an
Yes,
extent,
but do
but
not
then
lose
you need to
yourself.
have some things going on outside of your child.
You have to have an identity outside of just
Yes.
being
You
just
just
being a
mom.
mother. Yeah.
Yes. And
It's
I
important.
don't know where the time went, because this conversation is
I
so good.
know.
We got about 15 minutes, but I want to ask you, what are some of the things that we can do as moms to protect our mental health? Some tips you could give us, what we can do to make sure that we are protecting our mental health, that we are showing up not as the best mom, just the best mom that we could be, but we're showing up as the best version of ourselves. So
Absolutely.
what are some things that we could do as a mom to kind of make sure that we're okay?
Absolutely. So we want to ensure that we are taking care of ourselves. So we want to do that by what? We want to make sure that we're nourishing ourselves. And so that means that we are eating well, we're eating healthy, making sure that we're, eating on a schedule, because sometimes as women, we're going, and we're doing so much, and it's 3 or 4 o'clock, and and then you're going, oh my goodness, I haven't eaten for the day. And so we
Some of
have to.
us wear that as a badge of honor,
Oh
to be able
yes.
to say just about every day, I haven't eaten for the day.
Yes. But we have to fuel our bodies. So we are no good. And like you said, we want to be the best version of ourselves. And when we are the best version of ourselves, then we have more of ourselves really to truly give to our children and those, our loved ones. And so we want to make sure that we are fueling our bodies, right? We want to make sure that we're getting some rest. Now, of course, for the new mothers, it means, I know that you're up every 2 hours, but listen, once your children get a little bit older, you want to make sure that you're getting some rest. You cannot function if you're not getting rest. And so we want to make sure that we're getting an optimal amount of sleep. We want to make sure that we're getting not just quantity in sleep, but we're getting quality sleep. And so we want to be in an environment. We know that the best environment for sleep is one that is cool. It's very hot. I think we're going to be paying GB Power a little bit too much money.
Listen, I can tell you they gonna win.
So
They gonna win. This
right?
summer months, GP
Yes,
Power
they'll
gonna
get
be
it.
like, ooh.
Yeah, because we need to have it should be cool, it should be a dark room, and it should be a quiet room. So for the people who like to sleep with the televisions on, you want to turn that off. So you want to make sure that you are resting. I talked earlier about setting boundaries, and so that's very important. Being able to set the boundaries, learning how to say no. It's okay. No, we can't do that now. No, I can't do that. And sometimes it's just simply the answer is going to be no. Setting aside time for doing the things that you enjoy doing. And so, what are your hobbies? Because the only thing you shouldn't be doing, you shouldn't, the only thing you are, if the only thing you're doing is taking care of your children, taking them to school, making sure homework is done, dropping them off to every activity, swimming, baseball, dance. If that's all you are doing, you're not taking care of yourself. So, what are the things that bring you joy? Do those kind of things, because the things that bring us joy and make us feel good is going to do what? It's going to lift our mood. And when we lift our mood, then we know that we are improving our mental health. Get moving. So, physical activity, we know that when we exercise, when we move, it releases endorphins, and endorphins are a happy or a feel good hormone. So, again, those are the things that are going to make us feel good. It's going to lift our mood. That's really going to improve our mood. Having a support system. And so I say, having someone to talk to. So, whether it is a sister, a friend, a spouse, or you've realized that at this point I need to go and talk to a professional, it's about being able to get it out. So a lot of times we're just keeping so much things in. And sometimes talking to a friend or a sister is not about getting advice. It's not about someone telling you what to do or how you should do it.
Sometimes you just need to vent.
That's it. I just need to unburden myself. And so I feel like we should all have someone that we're able to unburden ourselves to, because we don't want to keep everything bottled in. And so being able to talk about it. And so we want to be able to talk about it. And then what are some things that we can kind of be doing that are really going to nourish our kind of spirit, so sometimes just having some quiet time. So whether it's simply, I'm just going to have some quiet time, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to go to the beach, I'm just going to listen to some music, just having some time to yourself as a mother. And I know we're talking to women, but what is also important is having support from the men in our lives. So spouses and fathers supporting the women. I read a study some time ago, and I looked at the inequality as it related to mental health, gender inequality, and it found that one of those predictive factors for women with mood disorders like depression was not that they were spending so much time working, but it was the inequality as it related to those roles once they came home. And so you're working and what it was that you're spending so much time, you're working, and then coming home and you're taking on
you're working again,
all of the responsibilities. So I said, after you've worked a full day, then you come home and you cook dinner and you clean the house and you help the children with homework and you listen to all the stories that they have to tell. You do laundry, you pick up the house. And then the expectation is also then that if you have a husband, that you're going to do what? You're going to tend to your husband. And so all of these things that you've done, and in all of that, where was the moment that you had for yourself? So for the men to also be supporting and recognizing that, listen, I'm working, my wife is working, I also need to kind of pull up some of the slack and I need to help. And so they can also help with making sure, leave mommy alone. Give mommy that hour that she needs. Come, let me help you. Let me listen to your story. Even though I know most times they still want to come to mom and share it. But that is also important, having the support from the men in our lives. And so those are just some things that we can be doing to kind of nourish our health. Journaling. So if you're a writer, even if you're not a writer, you pick it up and you just can kind of freestyle, just get it out. And if writing is a challenge, of course, in today's technological age, you can simply record it. So get it out there, because again, it's all about getting it out. So if you felt like, I don't have anyone I could tell this to, I have to take this, I can only take this to Jesus, at least write it in a book or put it, record it. And so you want to be getting this out. And so we have to be
Absolutely.
doing the things. We just have to ensure that we are taking our health, and as you said, Laverne, just as serious as we would take the health of our children. Any little boo-boo they come to you with, you want to get it cleaned up, and you want to make sure if they have to go to the doctor, they have a cough, they have a fever, our nerves are on us, and we do what? We immediately spring into action. But oftentimes we put ourselves on the back burner. And so we have to move into an era where we're not on the back burner, but we are taking care of ourselves just as much as we are taking care of the others that we love, our children, our spouses, our parents who are maybe aging, friends. We have to make sure that we're also taking care of ourselves.
Excellent. There's something that you mentioned, and we talked about it off air, and I wanted to touch on that. When you come to a place where you say, you know what, I need to take time for myself. I'm just doing this for me. I need a minute, whatever that is. And that sounds great, right? Mm-hmm. But then how do you navigate those feelings of guilt? Mm-hmm. Because you said no, because you said, no, you cannot come on this drive for me. You're fine. Stay at home with daddy or your older sister or whomever. Because you did that, because you decided that you're going to this place and you're going to do this by yourself, alone, because you want to be alone with yourself. Yeah. You just want to be you, right? But the guilt kicks in. Mm-hmm. How do you navigate those feelings of guilt?
And mom guilt is a very real thing. Right. So we don't want to discount that. It is very much a real thing. And it's not a process, I think, that's going to be easy for anyone to overcome. But I think as a mother, if our goal as a mother, our desire as a mother is always that what we want, what is best for our children. And so I remember some years ago when we were talking about self-care, and I remember saying that ultimately we should be doing things because this is for our good. It's in our best interest, I said. But if you struggle with doing it for you because that is what is in your best interest, then this is how you think about it. As a mother, when I take the time to take care of myself, I am fully available to be there for my children. Right? And so as you start to feel the guilt rise up, then you can kind of say to yourself, if you're struggling, so this isn't just for Lakiska. This isn't for Lakiska. This is so that I can be the best for my child, so that when I go home, I don't have to snap at my child because I've taken a moment for myself. So if you struggle with that, then okay, it's a process to go through. Take yourself out of the equation for a moment and then just say, I am doing this because this is what is going to be in my child's best
interest.
Right? And so, yes, this is helpful for me, but it's in my child's best interest. And you kind of continue to say that until you're okay with saying, this is for me, all for me, because I need this moment.
Right? Because I need it.
Mm-hmm. And it's fine. We have to take care of ourselves. You are no good to anyone, especially your children, if you are frustrated, if you are overwhelmed, if you are seriously under stress, and you do not have the psychological resources to manage, and you won't have those resources if you're not taking care of yourself. So you're not going to be any good to those children.
Yeah. And I like that you said sometimes you have to say that. Oh, Mommy, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. And Sister Chelsea, I see that you tuned in on Instagram. So thank you so much for tuning in. But I like that you said that. So sometimes, because you're not there yet, you do have to say, I'm doing this so that I can be the mom you need me to be. Until you can honestly say, I'm doing this because I need to do this for me.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I need these few minutes to or this day or a girl's trip or go to lunch or whatever it is.
Yes, yeah. And it's
and then do it, and then that's the other thing, right? You take the time, but because you've taken the time, you feel so guilty. Then you come back and you overcompensate.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so you went to lunch by yourself. And it was great, it was wonderful, but there was that feeling of guilt. So now when you come home, okay, we could make that 20-layer cake that
Mhm.
you wanted to make, and then
Yes.
after that I'll take you to such
Yes.
and such, and then we'll go here, we'll go there.
Yeah.
And it's almost as if you undo
Everything that you've done. Yes.
everything that
Yeah.
you did,
Yeah.
because now you're trying to overcompensate
Mhm.
because you feel guilty
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
taking the time.
Yeah, yeah. No, we do have to be careful with that. And again, and because it is a part of the guilt, but it's okay that we've taken care of ourselves, and our children will contribute to that because they will say, "Well, you went out and you had." So why can't I have? And it was simply, you have to have those conversations with your children. Mommy needed just a little bit of time, but yes, usually mommy will, you're allowed to have, but not
Right.
today. Okay, so today was mommy's day. And if they've had times when they've had a play day, you can point that out. Remember when you went and you were at so
Right.
and
I
so's
wasn't
house?
there.
Mommy wasn't there. Mommy didn't go to the party. You had that time for yourself. If you went, and so you point that out so they realize that it is okay that mommy has some time away from you. But
Yes.
again, if that is not what we are showing them, then they're not going to understand that you're allowed to have some time outside of them.
Of you.
Mhm.
We have to make it okay. I think we have
Absolutely.
to begin to make it okay. And so
Uh-oh. I think I lost you, Laverne. Oh, I don't know if I'm still on.
hi guys, I'm so sorry about that. Um, I want to apologize to everyone. It started raining. We're actually where I am in Bahamian. We have a little hail hitting the glass,
Oh,
and y'all
wow.
know our dipped. Okay,
It's
it
raining up
dipped
here
and
as
we lost
well.
internet connection, and we're just trying to reboot. Thank you so much for those of you who remain tuned in. I appreciate you. We're gonna wrap up right now, but I want to say thank you so much. Lakiska, for always sharing such wonderful insights. And, just expressing and emphasizing the importance of, as mom, of us taking care of our mental health. So before we go, are there any last things, any last words that you want to share?
I just would like to say to women and to mothers again that your mental health is an essential part of your health. We have to ensure that we are doing everything to protect it and to guard it. There's a quote that says we have to treat our mental health as though our life depends on it, because in many cases it does. So please, please, please make sure that we are prioritizing our mental health.
Thank you so much. And sisterhood, as always, I thank you and appreciate you tuning in. If you're a mom and you were tuned in, I hope you took away some tips. I hope that this show was helpful to you. If you know a mom and they weren't able to tune in, please go ahead and share. The weather's deteriorating, so we're going to wrap up.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say to you that if you are a journaler, stay tuned. Hey, Sis Coffee and Conversation. We are coming out with our Motivation Moments journal. So you will have a journal with some motivation in it for you. As always, if you're not following us on our social media platforms, why not? But go ahead, please. Make sure that you are following us at Hey Sis Empowerment and Resource Center for Women on Facebook, Hey Sis Empowerment on Instagram, as well as on LinkedIn. We are everywhere. We're also on TikTok, and of course, Hey Sis Empowerment on YouTube. Thank you, ladies. So thank you, Lakiska, so much. And for all of the moms and everybody who tuned in, thank you always for supporting Hey Sis Coffee and Conversation. And we will see you next week, Sunday. Goodbye.
Bye bye.